No. No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No. 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 Hell no. 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 I refuse. No. No.
What's up guys, Sal here. So it looks like the disease that got Sony and HTC has spread to LG as well. This is our first look at LG's next flagship, and for some reason LG has decided to stick with the same design that we saw on the G7 as well as the V40. Kinda surprising when everyone else is experimenting with new designs like holes, sliders, etc. and LG decided to stick with the worst possible design ever happened to smartphones. And not only that, there are only 2 cameras at the back. Again, when other companies are including 3 or 4 cameras, LG opted for only 2, which is odd because V40 had 3 rear cameras, which probably makes you wonder whether or not this render is true. There's an interesting backstory to this. A few days ago, Onleaks, who's a very reputable leaker, posted the exact same CAD renders of the G8 on his Twitter, to which the head of LG Electronics Global Corporation Communication replied and said the renders are not real. Everyone thought Onleaks got it wrong this time, but now almost 10 days later, we have XDAdevelopers developers saying they've gotten these renders, which are exactly the same as Onleaks' render, proving the older renders were correct all along. If this is the actual LG G8, then it would be really funny because these leakers knew the design of LG's next flagship before the head of LG's global corporate communication. Anyway, if we go past the design, this phone has a lot of interesting stuff going on, so without much further ado, let's talk about it. Yes, it looks like the LG G8 will have 3D sensors for the face unlock. If we close in on the image, we see a lot of sensors in the notch. One is obviously the front-facing camera. The other sensors could include an infrared camera, dot projector, and a time-of-flight camera. These are the sensors that you need for 3D face unlock. LG was initially rumored to have this on the V40 itself, but they scrapped the idea for some reason. But it's good to see them going for it on the G8. Not only that, you can't even find a cutout for the earpiece, which suggests that LG is going for a sound on display tech for this handset. If you compare the notch of the G7 and V40 to this, you can see that there's no cutout. This is interesting. Sound on display is a tech where the sound comes through the display, eliminating the need for an earpiece. This helps OEMs to push that top bezel upward. Of course, that being said, these are the 2 techs that could save this handset. I can understand why LG went with the notch again. I guess it has to do with all of those 3D sensors. But design is the biggest factor in determining the success of a handset, coupled with good marketing. And I hate to say it, the LG G8 doesn't have that factor going on in its favor, at least looking at these renders. Let me know what you think of this down in the comments, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Peace out.